Welcome to Agent After Hours. I am here today with Cindy and Marcy from Cindy Shetterly team. Thank you guys for joining me. Just want to get a little background on, how did you grow from Cindy Shetterly to a massive team that does so much production?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. And it started in 2005 as a single agent and wanted to then realize quickly in that first year that after doing 27 units my first year, the second year I did double that. And by the third year, I realized I needed help. So I hit that 60 and was lucky to have Marcy in my office as an agent and said, "Can you help me?" So Marcy helped me with the back end, which is the stuff that I don't like to do. So I
Sure.
delegated her with all the paperwork and the organization and all of that stuff because that is definitely, she's really amazing at that. And then after that, realized that I still needed help with buyers. So gradually went from 1 to 3 and then 4 after that. Once I switched over to understanding that I really needed a team and needed an organization to figure out how to function at the higher level. I read the Millionaire Real Estate book that kind of laid out that formulation for me. So I didn't have to do any legwork on it. And then realized that not getting a buyer's agent first was the smartest thing that I did, and having that back end person.
Yeah.
And then once Marcy went into management, she left me and that was the first hire that I did. I had a buyer's agent and her, and then hired somebody else to cover her right away.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that is the mistake that I see so many agents make is hiring a buyer's agent first. I made the mistake, burned through 3 of them because I just didn't have enough production to keep them busy. When in reality, having that person to do the back end paperwork and, keep me busy by, you handling the back end stuff so that I can go out and produce.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Cindy was so smart, because she's the one who needed to be in front of people,
Yeah.
right? And I realized my gifts. So we kind of connected shortly after I got licensed in '09. And it was kind of probably how a lot of agents get started. Like, hey, I like you. You like me. We do an open house and do you want to work for me? Literally, I think that was our conversation. I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And I was on the verge of really deciding if real estate was for me, to be honest with you. I'm not a rainmaker. I'm not a top producer. And though I've been licensed now going into my 15th year, I have no desire to be either of those.
Sure.
Like, I am a support person. Prior to getting to real estate, I was a stay-at-home mom and human resources. So I'm a systems. That's the way my brain
Sure.
works. And so to partner with someone like Cindy, and it was just kind of by the grace of God that we kind of got together and it just
Yeah.
worked. Connecting that way, helping her a little bit, kept me in the business, allowed me to use my strengths, keeping her in front of people, which is where she needed to be. So she knew, you work your strengths, you hire your weaknesses. It worked for us.
Yeah.
Though, as we look at other teams, sometimes hiring an ISA is what someone needs. Sometimes it is that buyer's agent. It just really depends on the business. And so to go back to how Cindy grew it, and we're talking at 2 different brokerages. So I think she kind of plateaued where we were at her old brokerage because of the systems they had.
Gotcha.
So to pick up where she left off, I'm now in management of that office. I'm the manager. So left the team. You then hired an admin and a buyer's agent, right?
Yep.
And then another buyer's agent. Do you have 2 before you left?
No, I had just one when I
Okay.
left. Yeah.
And then chose to go to Keller Williams because of
Mhm.
the system that Keller had in
Yeah.
place.
And then quickly, once I left, I realized that I could, in fact, grow in their way. So I hired a replacement for Marcy, kind of the director of operations. And then I had a marketing person. And then I had I had two buyer's agents immediately, and then brought a third one over. So I had 3 buyer's agents almost in the first year.
Wow. So Marcy, tell me, how did your role evolve as the team grew?
Yeah. Okay. So go back to this again. So Cindy left our old brokerage in, I know the exact date, 2015.
Okay.
And I remained at that brokerage for 2 more years. When I came over, and Cindy and I had been in conversation, we knew we'd always somehow be connected. It's a friendship. It's a business relationship. She was my mentor. Like, I would follow this woman to the ends of the earth.
Sure.
And so when it was the right time for me to join her, she had grown her team such that, people get into real estate to help people buy and sell. And that truly is her superpower. Coming into a team, you realize management is a completely different thing. People don't become rainmakers and want to be managers of people.
Right.
Right. And so I think that's where that it was a beautiful time for both of us that it was
Yeah.
like, okay, I can do this. She had grown the team such that it was taking her out of production to manage.
Right.
So I kind of stepped into that.
Yeah.
And at the time, probably had, were there 5 buyers agents when I came in?
Yeah, I think there was 5 buyers agents. So I had hired an agent that wasn't really productive. I moved her into marketing, Christy, and then moved Venus back out into production, and then hired another person, and then hired another. She stayed there, and then hired another agent to help buyers.
And at that time, we also had a transaction coordinator that was just paid per transaction.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I came in
Yeah.
2017, and we lost a few agents, we probably needed to lose. One of them went out on her own. One of them probably got out of the business. We now hire slow, and
Fire
we'll
fast.
get into kind of how we've had this steam. And when people come to me and say, how do you guys do it?
Right.
It's retention, truly. It's having the top agents who we provide so much value, they have no other choice but to stay on the team.
Sure.
So going back to 2017, so I step in, we have a part-time transaction coordinator on contract. Decided it's kind of really the big step for us was hiring a full-time transaction coordinator on payroll. Obviously, bringing someone in on salary gives us the ability to throw every transaction their way, but also utilize them when there is some downtime in other things. And I
Sure.
think that was a huge decision on bringing in W-2 employees. I'm a W-2 for Cindy. This person, her name's Amanda, is as well. And I had a transaction with Amanda. She was at a different brokerage, and I loved the way she worked. And so I just kind of threw it out there, complimenting her, and she wasn't interested in making a move at the time.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, the phone rang. I was like, hey, now I'm ready. And that's what it was about. So just sensing something in her, and she's the glue of our team, fast forwarding to now where we are closed 452 units last year. We're hoping to close over 500 this year. There was a time we used to celebrate. We took the team out to the fanciest restaurant in town when we had 60 pendings.
60
Wow.
pendings. We were so excited, and I have that. I keep it in my.
It was such
office.
we made a menu.
We have a menu. We had the big celebration. We brought everyone. It was like, yeah.
And
it was
now
big
if
time.
Amanda doesn't carry 80 pendings, she's like,
floored.
what do you guys need me to help with?
Yeah.
I don't know how, between Cindy who doesn't sleep and Amanda who doesn't sleep, it's incredible. So we now have 7 full-time buyers agents
Wow.
who I am convinced, and I know there's different models that you train people for different roles. They're buyers agents
Yeah.
and they're happy, and none of them will ever be full-time listing agents.
Sure.
Cindy's our full-time listing agent. We have another Venus who's full-time listing. The buyer's agents, we have Jade, who's our marketing extraordinaire. She's 23 and just
22.
22,
Yeah,
almost
she's
23, and just keeps
She's
us
amazing.
kind of doing
Yeah.
things that we're not comfortable with to stay in front of people.
Sure.
Amanda, who does full-time transactions.
Updates us oldies. Is all of them.
Yeah,
Really
but
keep those young.
longevity. Our newest agent has been in the business now 2.5 years, a year and a half on our team. Is that
Mhm.
right? Yeah. And our most experienced buyers agents been doing it 20 years. I don't know, Christy, and we kept them. We've retained them.
So talk to me a little bit more about that. You said that you provide so much value to them that they don't want to leave.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an
'Cause
example.
I know it's hard.
It's hard, but we have a really experienced agent at our office who is a singular agent with a full-time admin and a part-time marketing. This person doesn't need us, doesn't need a team.
Sure.
This person is functioning at a high level, making a lot of money. Her systems are in place. She wants to join our team for the community, for
Right.
the synergy,
Culture.
for the culture,
Yeah.
for the support. And so I think that's a big part of it. There was a birthday. We have a couple birthdays that we're celebrating this weekend. One of them is today, and the agent responded, all the text threads. Thank you so much to all of you who are like family. I don't know what I would do without you. And I think that just kind of says it all, that we are here for the good times and the bads. I know more about everyone than I probably know about my own family.
Sure.
But that's what it is. It's just they're people first. I think if we added up all the kids, we probably have 29 children
Wow.
between the 12 people on our team. So it's God first, it's family, and it's work. And if one person can't do something, we all jump in. If there's a medical emergency or a death or a vacation, it's,
All
you
there
know,
to support each
it's a
other.
trade-off. Yeah.
Sure.
There's never a doubt that we can cover for each other. And in this business, right, when people get in it for flexibility and they leave because it's 24/7, we offer that, okay, you can actually have a life and make a really good income, but we have high expectations. And, Cindy can talk about what we expect. This is not an easy job, and we ask a lot of them. And if they're not up to it, it's okay.
Sure.
But it's a great place to be, but we're going to ask you to show up
Yeah.
in big
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
So when I think one of the hardest things for agents that start a team to do is scale. So tell me what systems you have in place or gained along the way to go from first buyer's agent to 12 on the team.
Well, I think that first, it's having a vision and setting goals. A 1-3-5, having a coach was my number one thing, and understanding the value of a coach, and really honing in on how do I make myself, I'm one person, and how
Right.
can I double my work, and having that vision, double my income, but not working double hard because I'm only one person. So
Right.
I realized pretty quickly how to diversify and give away my stuff. So that was main. And then it just became evolutionary, but we were doing so much work, and there's only so much someone can do after 65 of their own pendings
Right.
a piece. We have to add on. So that's how it kind of evolved.
So I think that's one of the hardest things for team leaders to do when they first start is
Yeah.
to hand off, because I'm guilty of it. It's
No question.
I'm a little bit of a control freak. So how does that transition work? Like when you're handing off somebody to one of your buyer's agents?
Well, I'm not going to lie. It's still difficult many times,
Especially Spear.
Yeah.
especially
Her
Spear.
bot leads
Yeah.
are different than
Absolutely.
past clients.
Yeah. And so it's the confidence that I have in my team members
Sure.
that makes me okay to do it now. And I do a lot of evaluating, especially if it's Sphere, who it's going to go to.
Matchmaking.
And doing that, that matchmaking is like just a critical part.
Sure.
There's many times I'll if I can't think of someone, and because we have younger people, sometimes older people can't connect, and I'll say to Marcy, no offense to Marcy or anything,
Right.
but I'll say, do you want these people? They're looking at, I don't know, they're old, but they,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really great point because
Yeah.
everyone on our team is licensed.
Yep.
We'll
Yeah.
start there, including our marketing manager, our transaction coordinator. Everyone is licensed.
Yes.
There was only 3 of us only licensed in one state, Ohio or Kentucky. Everyone else is dually licensed,
Yeah.
which gives Cindy that flexibility to matchmake. So if our 22-year-old marketing manager is the best person to sell to someone in Ohio,
Sure.
Yeah.
she's going to get the lead.
Yeah.
If Cindy thinks, that I'm more mature, we'll just say, and can handle it, it comes to me. And, it is a challenge. Purchasing leads is easier to hand off, but it's still, we're paying a lot of money to buy leads, and we're still trusting that the agents are doing what Cindy would do. No one works harder than this person. No one can convert more than this person. Cindy used to pick up every lead that we purchased when it called in. Cindy would
my
pick
gosh.
up, and she'd matchmake.
Right.
Our conversion was high.
Yeah.
Now it's just a free for all and everyone picks up. She has to trust that they are going to convert at the level she does to make it worth that dollar in.
Sure.
And going back to expectations, this is where we script with our team twice a week, mandatory, Mondays and Fridays at 8 a.m., or they don't get leads for the week or the weekend. They get cut off.
Tell me
So
more.
It's amazing. And we've been doing this now almost 3 years
Wow.
of consistently Monday, Friday. No,
And I shut them
excuses.
off immediately.
If you're on
they're
vacation,
if they're 5 minutes late,
If
they're
you're
off.
in the ER, if your dog is sick, we don't care. You get
Yeah.
shut off.
Wow.
So
and we make it that way because
Yeah.
we don't apologize for our expectations. And
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to.
it was hard to get
Yeah.
started. To
Mhm.
people, everyone's uncomfortable with scripting.
And they'll
It's
say,
just
like-
really just practice talking and
Exactly.
conversations.
And the newer people, and I always say, scripting is basically just like it's a word that people don't like that word,
Right.
but it's basically just conversation. So we try to do that. And people at the beginning would say, but I called you in advance and told you I wasn't going to be on there, or I'm going to be on there, but I can't talk and I can't participate. Okay,
Click.
off.
Turned off.
Yeah. off. And then they'll say, why did you turn me on? I was there for 5 minutes. I just got off and you didn't hear me, or sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm
You'll
sorry.
come back on Friday. We'll get you back on.
I'm going to name this episode "We Don't Apologize for Our Expectations" because I love that line.
Yeah. And we don't. And you know, not that I'm taking a poll at our office, but I'm sure if we could say, hey, everyone line up if you'd like to join our team, we'd have a long line.
Sure.
Right? We scope people out. We watch. The newest agent on our team. Is he still the newest?
Yeah. Yeah.
We watched him for a year. He was a past client of mine. I helped him and his family sell 6 to 8 homes, and then he decided to get licensed.
Right.
We watched him for a year at the office and how he showed up. He thought he's coming on our team. We're like, no thanks. But we watched him. He showed up, and we're like, it's your turn.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we always have our eyes out there to see how people show up
Yeah.
before they'd be welcomed on, because, and we don't apologize for it, because it really is an honor. And I say this as also an employee, to be a part of this
Love it.
team. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So what is the ultimate goal? I mean, are you looking to continue growing, scaling to?
That's a good question. So yes, I'm looking to add 2 more on this year. I'm hoping that one is around the corner. It's up in the air. One, I'm not always for new agents. I want to watch them for a year. However, I've been working with this guy for a while. I had first said it was going to be all females, and I realized that once we
Oh,
took
yeah, that's
one,
a fun fact.
we
We weren't going to
And
bring
then-
any guys on the team.
There were 2,
We allowed
and
to
now I'm
say
looking
that?
at another one. So, but it's a dynamic for people. It's dynamics. I think it needs to be mixed up sometimes. I think it puts everybody on that competitive edge. We were a very competitive team. It works for us to do competitions. The competition now is February, but if they sell 15 apiece, they get automatically a trip to Vegas in February. 15
And
from
this is by
starting
the end of the
September
year.
1st to the other one.
From
It's
now to
3
the
a
end of the
month.
year.
I'm like, it's 3 a month, you guys. If y'all can't do it, then you don't even need to be on my team, because that's easy. So, the expectations of being new or not, it just depends on the dynamic of the team to make sure that we all can mesh.
So we have buyer's agents who, it's a hard job as a buyer's agent. They are running, they are
Yeah.
showing, they
Sure.
are giving leads, we don't set goals for them, they set goals. We set expectations, and we talk about what their expectations are to make sure we're a match.
Sure.
And then we let them set goals every year. And then we hold them to those goals. Okay. And we have agents vary from, they want to close 24 units a year to 60 units a year. We have agents making 50,000. We have buyer's agents making over 200,000.
Wow.
I mean, it's up to them. We have the business if they can take hold of it. But our buyer's agents have become such a close group of people that they actually have a monthly lunch that we're not invited to,
Yeah.
that they go on. And it was last week, and they're almost like tears in their eyes talking about how much they don't even, maybe they talk about us, maybe they talk about work, but I think they talk about life and the bond. And so we have one buyer's agent in particular who was always a tough one. When a new person came on, this person was always kind of looking at him like sideways, like, I'm not sure I'm going to feel him out.
Right.
Because it was maybe perceived as competition, but just like, let's see what they're going to do. That person now is very welcoming because I think they trust us
Sure.
in the process. And to see this group of people who it's a tough job. There's not a lot of
Right.
people who could do it for the length of time that they've been doing it with, as far as I am
And to be on a
concerned.
team.
Yeah.
And I always say, my goal is to bring somebody on the team to have that life expectancy of a teammate or team person for 3 years, to make them the best person that they can be, the best agent that they can be, and to be a better human after being on our team. And nobody leaves, so I'm thrilled about that. But that's my goal, is to make their life changed for that 3-year period. And so I think knowing that they have that option, that I'm not expecting them to stay for life, is maybe a reason that they do. I don't know, but I think it helps that there's expectations, and that they see the value of going on a trip and going for fun. I said, this trip that we're taking we're saying this is for family reunion for Keller Williams, but the last time we pretended that we were going to a conference and surprised
In
them all-
Vegas.
in Vegas, and then surprised them all.
When
and
they
just
got
had
there,
a-
we told them it wasn't a conference; it was a fun trip.
Yeah.
But we did say
That-
this time it actually is.
That-
for-
that's what we
Right.
said, we're
Don't
not joking.
expect the same announcement. But you had started the conversation by saying, like, what's the plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think going back to some of the agents, we do vision boards every year, and I will tell you, this job, this team has changed the lives of every single person. You know, you throw a dart and you ask people their story. You know, we have a woman who was a single mom at the time. Her kids were on free and reduced lunches. She was living in a home that someone allowed her to live in because she didn't have any money. Another woman who was she was a server and she, with 3 kids, and she'd been at the same restaurant for 15 years with a bachelor's degree, but she was making so much cash every night it was hard to leave. Another person who had filed bankruptcy. This, even for me, I was a single mom. I mean, this team changes lives, not only of our buyers and sellers, but of each person on it.
Yeah.
So when the vision boards are out, and we could go back through the years to see, for them to check off, I paid off all my kids' student loans, or I got to take that trip, or I put the
Yeah.
deck on my house. You know, I follow a podcaster, Chris Harder. I'll give him a shout out. And his tagline is, when good people make good money, they can do great things. And I always think of that. Like,
that.
there's plenty of money. None of our agents are in competition. If they all want to make $250,000, they can.
Yeah.
Right? It's effort in and money out. So exit strategy, you know, I think is something that Cindy and I are talking about now, is looking at our team. You know, I don't know, 15 years from retirement. Cindy's probably a little closer to that. She has built this up to be something that, you know, most realtors, you stop selling today, that's your last paycheck.
Right.
There's so much business now. And I think that's what she and I are challenged to do in
Yeah.
our future hires.
You
is
created
figure
a
out,
brand.
what is that? What's that look like when maybe Cindy steps away or I step away? Does the
Sure.
Cindy Shutterly team continue? And with who? Who's at the helm of it,
Right.
right? So that what she's built can continue and she earns money off that.
I love it because there's not enough. That's one of the things I think agents just fail miserably at typically
Yeah.
is they don't
You
have
spend every dime you make and you think your next commission is going to be as big as your last.
but they
No.
just don't have a plan in place
Yeah.
so that they can pass on that book of
Yeah.
business or pass on that brand.
And we've been offered to buy books of business from
Yeah.
people, you know, and we've looked at that. The way that they have set it up has not worked for us
Right.
or wouldn't
Yeah.
work from us, but I think that's something that we honestly need to look at.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't understand what a book of business is, and they think these are past clients. And here, I send them postcards, but I haven't followed up with them. If there's no connection with them, there's no connection for me. So there's no way I'm going to weasel in there just
No,
because
it has
of
to be a
that.
transition
Yeah.
where it's you're introducing them as your successor or
Yeah.
you know making the relationship do some co-marketing before the
Yes.
transition happens
Mhm.
so that people are aware and know how that transition looks and how it's gonna affect them.
Yeah, for sure.
So last thing I want to talk about, well, 2 things. This has been great, but accountability. So I know you have the expectations in the meetings, but what are you doing for accountability to make sure that your agents are hitting their goals?
Yeah. So we have meetings. So they set their goals,
Mhm.
right? We kind of back it up daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, just to kind of see where they are. We have expectations on referrals. We'll start there. You know, we're going to give you business. What are you giving back?
Right.
So listing referrals, what's that going to look like? Obviously, we always hope buyers, agents, as they, you know, mature in the business, have more sphere business than they do leads.
Yeah.
So we kind of look at that. We look at leads that they've been given. What's their answer rate? What's their conversion rate? How do they show up for scriptings or for meetings? Their numbers are their numbers, right? We
Sure.
can go over it. We can go through what we call the perfect week or the ideal week schedule.
Yeah.
I know we had a couple agents who just came back from Mega Camp, and I think the big takeaway was agents are not working 40 hours a week right now. They
Nope.
might act like they are. If they were,
I know my team's gonna watch this, and we just had this
they're
conversation.
not, right?
Well, they're not. And one of the things that is accountability, Marcy does a one-on-one with them. And that's weekly, or every other week, I guess it is. And then I touch base with them just to see where they're at. What I think that agents confuse that busy work with building a business. And if they're building a business, you know, I was on my call with James Shaw yesterday, and he was saying, if you take your numbers, so how you want to finish off the year, and you divide that by how many phone calls that's going to be, and if you do 14 phone calls a day to get, you just want to end it with 1 a month, that's what you need to make, at least 14 phone calls. But taking the math and doing that and actually setting it out for the buyers, they've all told me that they like when I start the scripting and ending the scripting, how many A buyers do you have right now? How many B buyers?
Yeah. So our
And
A
where are
buyers are
yours?
buying right now. If the house sits listed, they're ready to go.
This
right?
week, like how many are going to close this week? So then I said 19, we're going to sell 19 houses this week, or we're going to sell 7 or whatever it might be. So it's got to be those, and 2 of them will say, you didn't ask, you have to ask us how. And it puts them on a spot and they have to be accountable in front of each other. And
So
I think that's what
We
they
have a
really
text
like.
thread. You probably gathered, and new agents to the team are like, "Oh my gosh, this is so annoying! Because it never stops.
Right.
It's like, here's my daughter's prom dress. Oh, and here's a sale.
Right.
And here's my sick dog. And oh, here's I went. So, but we're now so used to it. But part of that is shouting out your pending. So
Yeah.
as soon as you get a pending, you say pending on 123 Main Street and closing October 1st. And it's a celebration. Everyone then responds, congrats.
Well, no, not just congrats. We have the best
Oh,
gifts in the plant.
oh,
like
God, yeah.
everybody's saying, oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, something we haven't used before. I'm going through here.
Yeah.
It's like we all start searching.
So it's a big celebration for each one. So that's accountability there, because
Sure.
if one person just had 3 in a row,
Well, they'll say, you're killing it. What's
you're
going on?
killing
I
it.
need
And
to-"
what are you doing different?
What's
And
the
yeah.
secret
I
sauce?
think new agents maybe at first feel it a little scarcity, like, oh, this is kind of like, I'm not doing enough. But now it is such a celebration of everyone, because we all believe there's more than enough to go around. Like if you just got 3, that means the next 3 are mine,
Yeah.
right? It's such a celebration versus a competition. So though they are competitive, it's in the best possible way, because we all can win.
Yeah,
That's how they look at it.
I love it. What is the ideal number of leads that you're trying to get to each agent?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a number of leads that because they're open to taking as many as they want. They have their expectations that they have to bring in at least 11. Well, every year it changes because they're the longer they are on the teams, the more they're expected to bring in their sphere.
Sure.
So they start off with 11 as their first years of giving us a buyer's seller referral or a buyer referral.
From their sphere.
Correct. Yeah. And then, or picking up, wherever but they produce and say, Cindy, here is a listing for you. And then 2, what was the question? I forgot.
How many? What's the number of
Ideal
leads?
number of
Ideal
leads. Oh, yeah.
number of leads.
But do you mean to keep them in the pipeline? We
Yeah.
like to keep at least 30 in the pipeline for them. They all have a lot more, but I have an inside sales. It's a guy who's calling, and he is part of our team, and he calls all those leads. Today, he just called me and said, I have 2 that I'm passing off, found 2 that were 2 years old, and there's no such thing as a bad lead. So it's
Yeah.
just us converting.
We have a database of over 15,000 leads. A lot of them are leads that we've purchased.
Sure.
And our ISA, which he's been doing a fantastic job of just going through them and making them dead, or have they already purchased? Do they have an agent?
Right.
And if they are good leads, putting them back in front of the buyer's agents. But we kind of go through this exercise on a regular
Yeah,
basis. Like, how
me too.
many are too many? Is 20 too much? Is 30 too much? And do we you pick your top 30, which is fluid,
Right.
and then we're going to put all of them into the
Yep.
fish pond and let our ISA call on them and give them back out. So, we do purchase leads by zip codes. And so depending on the zip, we get a lot more in.
Yeah.
And our agents, they're hot at first, and then the next hot one comes and you forget about that.
Right.
So ISA was key for us because we're investing the money.
Mhm.
We've got to stay in front of the people that we've purchased, basically.
Sure. At what point did you have too many leads that you realized you need an ISA versus?
We needed an ISA 10 years ago.
Yeah,
but
years
we didn't
ago.
have one. Yeah.
Got it.
Because if we could just tee it up for every agent and the ISA sets up appointments, who wouldn't want that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
We didn't want to take that away from the agents. Lead gen, making those phone calls, is what Cindy did to build her business. Any good agent who doesn't have that muscle needs to develop it.
Yeah.
When agents come in and they want to automatically put their first transaction with a transaction coordinator, I'm like, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You
Yeah.
need to know the ins and outs of the purchase and the listing. We're used to just the easy button, make it go away.
Right.
But people need to learn how to you need to learn how to lead gen. Before COVID, we would require everyone in the office, including our buyer's agents, 3 days a week for scripting, for lead gen. And we kind of got away from that during COVID, and we actually reduced our offices from 3 down to 1 because we're in there so infrequently.
Yeah.
Now, we saw our business continue to climb, obviously, but I think that tipping point was when the buyer's agents were in the field. We didn't think they were shopping and getting their nails done, and they were actually showing buyers that they
Right.
couldn't get in touch with all the leads that we had. Was when we really
Yeah,
Cindy
it just
found
started
it.
going.
And we went through a couple ISAs, as you usually have to,
Sure.
to
Yeah.
find the right fit.
Well, and going back to one of the questions I asked earlier, Veronica Figueroa, I don't know if you've heard the name, but she's a huge agent down in Florida. And I met her through a couple different conferences, became friends with her. And I reached out when I was in Orlando last time and I said, hey, got this condo that I want to check out while I'm here. Can I see it? And she did the best job of the handoff that I've ever seen. And she put me on a group text with her ISA and said, Tyler's one of our VIP clients. And I just, I'm sitting there going, she's good.
She's good. That's really good.
She's good. Tyler's one of our,
Who's that?
yeah. So group text with the ISA, and then he put me on a group chat explaining the same thing to whoever he
buyer's
assigned me
agent.
to, and went over and took a look.
Thanks
So,
for that takeaway, Tyler.
Yeah.
I like that.
I
We
like
might
it
start
too.
using that.
VIP.
Who doesn't
Yep.
want to be called a
Tyler.
VIP?
right. I was like, okay, I understand. It doesn't feel like she's just pawning me off.
Yeah.
She's making me feel like I'm getting the best service possible.
Yeah.
So, well,
Yeah,
thank you
love
both
it.
so much for being here.
Our
Any
pleasure.
last tips or advice if you want to look at the camera and give agents looking to build a team?
Well, we love this. I mean, Cindy and I have always talked about putting a podcast together because what seems easy to us,
Yeah.
because it's just grown so organically and it's just flowing right now, isn't something that you can necessarily, I mean, we could put it on paper, but it's the people part of it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
finding the right people who are going to fit in with the team.
Yeah.
Just because they're a top agent, they may not be a fit.
Yeah.
Just because they're a new agent doesn't mean they won't be.
Yep.
But I think we have such a sense, and especially Cindy, that intuition of knowing who the right next person is. And though we are anxious to get a couple of more agents on the team, timing is everything with that. And, takeaways, I mean, contact us if you're interested. We really are always looking for
Yeah.
really great talent who want to fit into this really
And even
great
if they're not,
machine.
and if they're not even here in Northern Kentucky, we don't care that they're not in Kentucky
Yeah.
or Cincinnati. I'm looking, for agents, and one of Marcy's and I's adventure is to expand.
Yeah.
So
Florida,
that's
probably Arizona. We're going
So-
south.
so that is, always something that, we're looking for talent. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Cindy. Thank you, Marcy.
Welcome.
We will see you guys in the next one.
Thank you.